Yeah, so thank you, Saurabh, for the good for such a nice introduction. It was the ex Central Zone Executive of Glaucoma Society of India and ex Central Zone member of Academic and Research Committee of AIOS. Presently, these are my affiliations. So I'm going to talk on cataract and glaucoma, way to go. So no financial disclosures. We all know that cataract and glaucoma is the leading cause of blindness worldwide. It is the most common ocular condition associated with the aging process, and its prevalence is increasing due to increase in the lifespan, and also there is an increased risk of sclerotic cataract with elevated IOP and with glaucoma medications. So the question is, how do we manage this coexisting condition to promote the best visual outcome? So the initial decision making is crucial in determining the type of intervention in this coexisting disease. So approach to a patient with this combined disease depends. There are three surgical approaches. You have cataract extraction alone, you have sequential surgery where you do trap first, followed by the cataract surgery. Then you do a combined cataract and glaucoma surgery. So what are the indications for cataract extraction alone? You have a visually disabled cataract in which you have the patient is having an IOP under good control. You have a mild glaucomatous damage. You have minimal visual field loss. You are on one or two well-tolerated anti-glaucoma, topical anti-glaucoma medication, and also the patient is compliant with the anti-glaucoma medications. So what are the advantages? We all know there is a long-term IOP reduction after 5 years. There's no need of less post-operative medications are needed. And the disadvantage is there is an early post-operative IOP rise, especially within the first 2 hours, which lasts for about 24 hours. So close monitoring of this IOP is very crucial. Coming to the sequential surgery, that is a two-stage approach, wherein you do a trap first, followed by cataract surgery later. What are the indications? Basically, the glaucoma dominates the clinical picture in these patients. There is a significant optic damage, there is advanced visual loss, and there is uncontrolled glaucoma despite maximum targeted medical therapy. So this cataract surgery can be done 4 to 6 months after the TRAV is done once the lab is well established. So this is called as a two-stage procedure. Disadvantage, we all know it needs two separate surgical procedures. The cost also is involved, and the filtering surgery might hasten the cataract development, and the cataract surgery might cause the blood to fail later on. So coming to the triple procedure, the indication is cataract with glaucoma patients in which there is failure to achieve target pressure by medications. There are issues related to compliance, adherence, and drug-induced side effects. There is a borderline control IOP, disease progression or advancement despite maximum medical therapy, and there is an uncontrolled glaucoma, but an urgent need to restore vision, and when two operations are not feasible, especially not developing patients. So advantage, we all know that it eliminates the need for two separate surgery, cost is reduced, there's significant improvement in visual acuity and IOP. So both these issues are addressed at the same time. Coming to the surgical considerations, you have the pre-operative considerations in which you have to do a proper examination, try to find out what is the cause of vision loss, whether the major cause is due to cataract or due to glaucoma, do a proper slit lamp evaluation, look for pseudo exfoliation, shallow anterior myopia, because most of our glaucoma patients have these coexisting abnormalities. Look for the fundus examination to rule out whether the vision loss is more due to glaucoma optic atrophy or due to any other macular pathology. Operative considerations, the previous speaker has properly taught us how we are going to deal with the small pupil strategies, because we as a glaucoma surgeon come across a lot of patients with small pupil, and these patients have irreversible miosis. So if you're doing a phaco, you can use pupil expansion devices like rings, hooks, and expanders. Like my choice has been hooks and expanders. I've stopped using hooks, rings, I think from last almost 6 years. Even if you are doing incisors, do a stretch pupiloplasty, microsphincterotomy, or a cyclorectomy. Viscoelastics of choice is sodium hyaluronate. It maintains a flat AC and also deburrs it, especially helpful in chronic angle glaucomas. But it should be thoroughly washed at the end to avoid post-operative IOP spikes. We all know that SPMC causes less post-operative IOP elevation when we are comparing to sodium hyaluronate. Operative considerations, the rexis size, IOL search is all dictum and a standard dictum what we have been taught in cataract surgery. But what I would put a word of caution is the ACIOLs has to be avoided when you are doing cataract surgery in glaucoma patients, because you don't want the IOP to be right. Then coming to the sequential surgery, wherein the cataract incision should be positioned to maximize the pleb survival. In this sequential surgery, you are doing cataract extraction after filtering surgery. So the incision site depends on the initial filtering pleb. So the temporal location is preferred. A phaco with foldable iode to a clear corneal incision is a surgery of choice. And most of the time we come across this posterior synechial because of the previous surgery. So synechial lysis is must, and we have to be mentally prepared to what all we are going to do. So in this case, I'm going to show a cataract extraction after filtering surgery. You can see there's a superior nice pleb, and then there are posterior synechials also, and it's an intumescent cataract. So I'm showing a surgery. So what precautions you have to take? This cataract incision should be positioned to maximize the bleb survival. The incision site depends on the location of the filtering bleb. So here there is a superior bleb. So I'm doing a temporal location. You should always do a slow motion phaco, but you should not be so slow that you prolong your surgical time, because if you prolong the surgical time, there's a lot of turbulence, and then your chances of bleb failure will increase. So phaco with foldable is the surgery of choice, and sinuphilasis has to be done. So just a quick review. This video how we are going to handle this. So do any preferred technique of phacoemulsification. Now coming to the triple procedure, you have the single site and the twin site. Single site you can do an SICs or a phaco with the trap to the same site, that is superior. It involves less surgical time. Two site or twin site is you do a superior trap and do a temporal phaco. Temporal SICs is not advised because it's a large conjunctival dissection. So a superior trap and a temporal phaco is what is advised in the twin site. The only disadvantage, there is no surgical time. So there are two parallel videos I'm showing you in this. You have the upper one is the single site, which is the SICS plus IOL, and the bottom one is the twin site, which is the phaco plus IOL. So the first thing what you have to learn is to take a proper traction suture. You can take a superior rectus traction suture or a corneal traction suture. Why this traction suture is important is because it gives you better exposure. And once you are going to mark the conjunctival flap, always mark the conjunctival flap with the help of a caliper. Cut the conjunctival flap in one go. Do the meticulous posterior as much as posterior subconjunctival dissection. Identify the bleeders and only cauterize the bleeders. Don't over cauterize it. If you over cauterize it, you will have shrinkage of the scleral flap. Now, if you want to use antimetabolite, you can use this after making the scleral flap, just marking the scleral incisions. You can put these wax sponges, or before that you can do. But the only dictum when you're using mitomycin is you have to remember that you should use wax sponge, never use cotton pellets, because you don't want any cotton fiber to be left back into the subconjunctival space, and to avoid the complication of this antimetabolite. Again, mark the scleral flap. Then with the help of a 1-tooth forceps, raise the apex of the scleral flap. Just the cutting edge of the 15 number blade is just touched, and you get a nice nick. So keep on stretching the scleral flap superiorly and just touch the cutting edge of the 15 number blade. And you can see I'm doing the same maneuver. I'm just lifting up the scleral flap tightly and just touching the cutting edge of the 15 number blade, and you get a nice uniform scleral flap. So once this is done, when you are doing an SICS, you then take a crescent and proceed normally as you do your manual small incision cataract surgery. And when you are doing a twin side surgery, now you have to shift from superior side, you have to shift your chair to the temporal side. Now you have to sit on the temporal side and then proceed with your phaco surgery. So the steps of the cataract surgeries remain the same now. From this step onwards, you don't have to alter your cataract steps. Only thing is you be more vigilant and more mentally prepared as to what all complications can be seen. So you can see when I'm doing a phaco trap, as I told you, small pupil are the cases which we as a glaucoma surgeon experience a lot. So this is a case of Malugin ring. I'm injecting through the same incision which was created for the phaco. Now you have to remember why I told you initially also that I have given up using iris sources. If the pupil is rigid also, you can do a stretch pupilloplasty and then inject this Malugin ring, BHEX, or the OSS iris expander. They are not expensive. I usually ETO clean and ETO it. So at least 4 to 5 times we can reuse it. So the cost is very cost effective. And if you look at the BHEX, it is very cheap. So I think this is better because 2 incisions for the bimanual, then 1 incision for the main tunnel, and then 4 or 5 for the iris hooks. It will be like multiple dots on the corneal limbus. So I advocate to use expansion devices and not the iris hooks. So proceed with your phaco surgery of choice. I usually do a stop and chop technique, and depending on the hardness and the softness of the cataract, I might convert to a direct chop or a flip and chip technique. So whatever technique you're comfortable, do that. Now you can see that I have finished my SICS and I'm making an internal ostium in the upper video with the help of 11 number blade. So 2 by 1 millimeter is the size of the internal ostium. Now this iris is popping out. All this iris popping out can be avoided. Is basically you have to maintain the anterior chamber adequately. Never overfill the anterior chamber with the visco. If you do that, what happens is the moment you are trying to cut the trabecular meshwork, there will be iris prolapse. So once the trabecular meshwork is cut, do a nice broad-based peripheral iridectomy, and this is the technique of suturing the scleral flap. When I'm doing an SICS trap, initially I used to put 1 intermittent and 2 releasable suture, but now I changed to only 1 releasable suture, whether it is an SICS trap or a phaco trap. So the technique of releasable suture, you pass 10-0 parallel to the limbus into the clear cornea, then from perpendicular limbus from the clear cornea into the scleral flap, and then from the scleral flap into the intact sclera. So this is the way you're going to take the suture. Then take 4 throws, and once you've taken 4 throws, there's a slip knot. Go pass these throws over this loop. You can see the way I'm passing it and tighten it. So this is the way you're going to put the releasable sutures. And mind you, this realizable suture technique is very, very useful and important in titrating post-operatively of left. So once these realizable sutures have been put, then you close the conjunctival suture. Closing of the conjunctival suture also is very important. You need to take anchoring sutures, and so that the blood doesn't get retracted behind. Another variation of making the internal ostium, you can see in these videos. You can use a Kelly's punch, which most of us are well versed with. You can use a Kelly's punch to make an L-shaped opening, or you can use an MVR. You can enter the anterior chamber, cut the trabecular with the help of an MVR, and then with the help of Vanas, make the internal ostium opening. So this is the way you are going to proceed with the combined disease, that is cataract and glaucoma. And thank you for your kind attention. I hope I finished my presentation on time.